Welcome to Brothers King Talk, where we view eternity through the lens of art. My name is Samuel.
And I'm Solly.
And we are back again this week, continuing to do that. I really feel like I need some better opening lines for this. I have the good, our slogan. Our slogan is good. If we ever get a TV tropes page, our slogan will be there at the top every time.
Right.
But I don't know, because TV tropes, they always have a catchphrase or something to introduce the page at the top, and that will be there. But I never know what to say after that. I'm like, well, here we go, the number one Billboard song.
Right. Well, see, I feel like really, we need to, while we're rebranding and doing, more stuff with Brothers King Media, we need to figure it out. Because, for Brothers King Media in general, yes, we are viewing eternity through the lens of art. But what are we really doing with Brothers King Talk? We're viewing music. So what are we viewing music through?
Art. It's still all about, what grasp has art on eternity, it's just the really simple fact of everything, rather good or bad, has a relationship with God, and therefore, and by extension, relationship with eternity.
Right.
That relationship can be very negative. It can be, this is, something unfit to, you wouldn't show this to your little brother or something, and this shouldn't be really seen by anyone because it's not good for your soul. But it's still showing, a disparity between how far away from God you are.
Right.
So, let me back up here. So, let me give you an example. I was watching Bohemian Rhapsody a few months ago, I don't know. Whenever it came out on DVD, I watched it. And I'm watching this, and I'm watching the story of Freddie Mercury, and I already knew it. I'm a music aficionado, I like history a lot. So I've read up on Queen, of course, because I like reading about music history. But it was just seeing it acted out. I couldn't help but thinking, this is really the sad story of a guy who was missing something in his life, and he didn't know what he was missing. So he looked for it in drugs, he looked for it in sex, he looked for it in tons of relationships, he looked for it in money. And no matter what he did, he couldn't, find that fulfillment until it literally killed him.
Right.
And that's, what I was thinking about. So when I say we view, eternity through the lens of art, everything that we view, everything that we read, everything that we hear has some sort of grasp on eternity. It just depends on how we view it.
Right.
So, yeah, that was a complete sidetrack.
That was free.
That was free, yes. Please like, subscribe, share with your friends.
Hey, it won't even hurt if you added it to your Instagram. JK, that wasn't funny.
Anyone out there that's listening.
Yeah, Mom, please.
So that's what I mean when I say viewing eternity through the lens of art. So,
oh man.
But also, it's interesting because now that we're talking about it, we might as well just talk about it for a second.
This podcast has taken a turn. Let's do this. All right.
So, at the same time, we want people to listen to us at some point in the future, hopefully.
Right.
We want people to enjoy this as a form of entertainment.
Right.
So, at the same time, I'm purposely veering towards Christian pop culture because that's something I'm familiar with. I've grown up in it. I was a fan of Newsboys and DC Talk for most of my young adult life.
Right.
I rocked out to Keith Green, Steve Green.
Oh, Steve
Buddy Green. All the
Don't
Greens.
know that guy.
He wrote the music for Mary, Did You Know?
Oh, okay.
Mark Lowry wrote the lyrics, but
Mark Lowry.
But
Mary, did you know? Oh my god.
So I choose to talk about Christian pop culture because that's what I know. That's what I'm good at.
Really though, in a general context, our stunt here, so to say, is really family friendly.
Yeah.
It isn't specified for young kids or old people, or it's not even specified for teenagers. It's just a generalized we're trying to market it to the general audience,
I mean, to the general audience that knows Christian pop culture enough, they would actually get half of what we're talking about.
Right.
So, I mean, that's still a relatively small demographic. And if I may quote, oh, darn it, what's his name? The really pale comedian. He makes fun of Hot Pockets. Jim Gaffigan.
Okay.
If I may quote Jim Gaffigan, he said, when you say family friendly, what you really mean is it sucks.
Okay.
He's like, but he goes on to say, he's like, I'm always branded as a family friendly comedian. And if you ever listen to Jim Gaffigan stuff, he is very family friendly. Like, he's like, but I don't do that because I'm trying to go out of my way to be family friendly. I do that just because when I'm making fun of Hot Pockets, I don't see the need to, put a vulgar joke in that.
Right.
I want it to be something my kids can just listen to. And I'm like, okay, my kids can listen to this. We're good. We're all happy. And I feel the same way about our content in the fact that when you say family friendly, that means, traditionally, let's avoid anything that could be considered a hot topic. Let's avoid stuff that, death. Let's avoid death. Let's avoid talking about the consequences of sin. Let's avoid talking about...
I wouldn't even say that would be necessarily an aspect of it because, Adventures and Odysseys, focus on the family friendly.
Yeah.
And they talk about the consequences of sin, and it talks about death being a consequence of sin. Wages of sin is death.
At the same time, though, every episode that's slightly intense on that has Dr. What's his name?
Blackguard.
No, not Blackguard. No, it's the guy who owns Focus on the Family. I just can't think of his name. He's actually a doctor.
Oh,
like a child psychiatrist.
What is his name?
I cannot think of his name for the life of me. He always comes in, though, and he's like, this episode may be intense for younger viewers. As always, parents, please listen with your children. So he does that if the episode's too heavy.
We should start putting that as a begin, you say welcome to Brothers King Media, where we view eternity through the lens of art. And I'll come and I'll be like, parents, we advise you to listen to this with your children, seeing that some of this content may be damaging.
I'm sorry, so I totally interrupted you. So what was you saying about family friendly? I would agree that we are on the lighter side of things.
Yeah, I just feel like we're not trying to brand ourselves, or not brand, but we are trying to brand ourselves. We're not trying to market ourselves to a certain age group.
Yeah.
Necessarily. I feel like a lot of the stuff we talk about, and I hope that we actually do get, kids, preteens to listen to this, because maybe society will have hope if they realize what they're missing out on, that what's on the radio isn't necessarily what music is. Because yes, it is art in a form, but it's one of those things where it's been critiqued so much. It's like the Mona Lisa. Now, I'm not saying Mona Lisa is not a good piece of art, but the painting of Mona Lisa has been so critiqued. It's been done so many times. The artist drew it, and then he's like, okay, this is perfect. This is what we want, so therefore we can sell this, and that's what's going to carry.
And it's funny.
Really what needs to happen is, I feel like our music needs to be more abstract. Instead of having this set agenda that, it's strictly worship, we're going to be pretty vague about what it's about. it needs to be more abstract. It needs to have meaning to every individual person rather than a general audience. If you see what I'm saying?
I think I get where you're going. What you're saying is basically we want less less McDonald's. McDonald's is good. It can be fulfilling in a pinch.
Right.
But there is nothing that beats that little mom and pop pizza place.
Exactly.
That just makes, everything homemade and puts their heart and soul into their food, and they're like, here you go.
Like, why have McDonald's when you could have Stinny's Pizza?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And if Stinny listens to this, hey, just throw us a 20. We don't care.
Yeah, Stinny's is just for those that would that's curious. It's like this little tiny garage pizza place.
So that right down the road from where we live. And it's not like, it's nothing big.
But it's that special food.
It is. Like, we grew up on it. Like, it's our Friday night thing,
And I think, that's the complaint about art, not just in the Christian art. That's everywhere.
Exactly.
I mean, and that's not even just music. That's all art.
Exactly. I mean, like, why do you think One Direction really took a sabbatical? Because their music, they felt like, yeah, we're gonna do this next album, and they did it independently. Mm-hmm. So they couldn't really, I mean, if they wanted to, they could probably fund themselves a lot of time. But they didn't want to waste their money on themselves, obviously, like on their own music. They wrote that last album, which was 4. I think that was the name of their last album. Mm-hmm. They wrote the music to that, and they're like, all right, we're going to disband until all of us can, regroup with what we want to do. But I'm just saying, like, that's why they quit. Everybody's like, oh, no, they just got tired of it. I don't think you can really... I mean, yeah, there is a sense that you get tired of it. But these kids, it was their dream to be rock stars, essentially. I don't think you just get tired of your dream. I think that there are more things that play out into where it goes. But they don't want to talk about it. They don't want to say, oh, we didn't like the direction our directors and producers wanted us to go. They wanted to write their own stuff. Therefore, they did. Good job. Congrats. I'm not saying, I'm not singling out One Direction. It's just the first thing that popped into mind concerning pop culture in general, secularly.
Well, what pops into my head is, for instance, and I know, okay, so let me preface this by saying I'm a huge super nerd. Anyone who knows me knows if you could see my house, it's covered in nerdom.
Yes, it is. This is nerddom.
But so the MCU movies, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I love the friggin' Marvel Cinematic Universe. They're some of my favorite movies.
Right.
At the same time, though, they are all the exact same movie. You watch the first Iron Man, and it gives you the blueprint for how every Marvel movie will play out. Yes, with differences. But they're tightly controlled for mass consumption, right?
Right. Now
compare that to like a little indie flick. One of my favorite movies is called Primer, and most people probably had never seen it. It was made by like 3 guys and a $20,000 budget. And it's a time travel flick, but it's one of my favorites, and it's very unique. And it would not fit into a Marvel movie because it's not made for mass consumption.
Right.
It's made as a work of, this is my art, this is what I wrote.
Right.
But this is why I wanted to make more than anyone else.
Right, but
no one else could have made.
Exactly. But there's something more meaningful about that than this, like, I mean, I'm not saying that Marvel's ripping anything off, really. They're
good movies,
they're good movies, but just if you want creativity, you just have to read the comic books. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it makes, that's all. That's all. If you're looking for creativity, read.
Beyond that, though, it's just there's something special when you give a person just no bars hold, saying make what you want, not what will be mass consumed. And not everyone likes that. It's made for the few, not made for the all.
Right.
And there is something special about that art. But at the same time, I feel like we're just talking in circles here. But at the same time, the mass art can be good. So like I said, the MCU is still a very good series. If you want to go back to the music world, the Beatles, they were massively popular. They were very good.
Right. And that,
if you want to go back to Christian music, I would say like DC Talk.
Rich Mullins.
They were massively
Green.
popular,
Well, Keith
still
Green.
good.
You know, for his time, Keith Green was huge.
Yeah, he was Christian music for a minute.
He was all. You know, like...
Until Amy Grant happened, he was
until
it.
Amy Grant. But that was after he done passed.
Yeah.
You know. But, I mean, even on that whole Beatles kick right there that you just went through, is like, you know, no spoilers, but, you know, they got that new movie coming out.
Oh, yeah,
I forget what it's called. Yesterday. There it is. But anyway, you know, it's about the guy. He passes out and gets knocked out, wakes up, nobody remembers the Beatles.
Uh-huh.
And then essentially, you know, there's just all this pop culture reference going on in this world where nobody's remembering what's old except for this one dude who's trying to share it with everyone. And then, you know, next thing you know, there's a scene about, you know, Ed Sheeran and him going through vocals, and Ed Sheeran's trying to manipulate the lyrics that, you know, Paul McCartney and George Harrison and Ringo Starr and John Lennon, when, you know, they wrote, because it was like, it wasn't necessarily, it was not a song to the general audience. It was a song, you know, it was personal, more personal, you know, from them to someone specific we may not know, but it still affected us individually, you know. But like that's the feeling that I get with the century we live in, is everyone's trying to pulp culturize everything. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, we have the original Batmans, you know, the old ones, the 1949 version. And me and Shiloh and Dad watch it, but they just continue to make the new Batmans. They want to modernize everything, which I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying, like, there's some things you can do that with and some things you shouldn't, you know. And when it comes to music, I feel like music shouldn't be generalized. It needs to be personal. It needs to be able to connect to the audience, to the listeners on an individual basis, rather than being this general work of art that has one specific meaning and purpose. It needs to be more abstract, so that when I look at it, I could see one thing, but when you look at it, you can see another thing. And it just connects to you on that individual level.
Yeah, absolutely. And, oh man, welcome to Brothers King Media, where we rant about how we feel about modern pop culture for 20 minutes. All right, so I'll say one last thing and shut up, because we've touched on 5 different things.
Right.
And really, and if you ever wanted to hear a thesis statement about why we do what we do, this is as good as we're probably going to ever get. Also, on the topic of the history, though, I feel like the saddest thing that can happen to a person is to be forgotten.
Right.
And I feel like that happens with a lot of music. A lot of Christian music, sadly, is forgotten. Like, you know how many people still reference Keith Green? For instance, I know we like brag on this guy a lot.
I do. I reference him every day.
That's us,
Mm-hmm.
right? But
right.
then again, we have 2 listeners.
Right.
So,
I mean, but they are ourselves.
I know. If anyone's out there, please,
we're begging you. I don't care if you're 40 years old. And a woman and homeschooling your 25-year-old child.
I just hope that history be not forgotten and history be not rewritten, you know? Let history stand as it is, as a beautiful work of art, and then let us celebrate the new things people are creating and not just live in the past as well.
Right.
And let us all do it in relation to our relationship with eternity, our relationship with God.
Right.
Whew. That's there we go. I feel
that's
better
off
now.
our chest.
I know, right?
We're set. So, do we need to? What part of our session now do we have to cut out?
We're just gonna go full throttle here.
Are we?
If anyone ever listens to this, I'm sorry. We love you.
We went 20 minutes over.
All right.
Oh, wait. I can actually warn them. Guys, like, I'm a prophet. This episode will go 20 minutes over. Okay, whatever.
All right. Let's go ahead and check out the billboards. We didn't check it out last week, but not that anyone cares.
Yeah, not that anyone
what day are we on, Solomon? What's the date?
What's the date?
What's the date today?
May 7th.
May 7th
of 2026.
2019.
I know. Shh. They'll never know the difference.
So for 41 weeks, Lauren Daigle's "You Say" has been at number 1. Like, wow.
I still don't know what she's saying. Like, I just still don't get it.
Well, God says she is loved.
You say I am... Yeah.
I mean, a vague you say... Sorry to everyone who's heard that.
Yeah, well, they probably didn't hear it. They probably didn't notice it. Now they do. I burped, okay? I have bodily gases, too. I'm a human. We're allowed to be human.
So she's been saying for 41 weeks.
Well, no, it says, when I am alone, God, you say I am yours, I believe.
We had this conversation, right?
Yeah, she could mean like, God, you say I am yours. Yes, babe. I believe.
Number 2 is still God Only Knows.
God Only Knows.
By For King and Country.
For King and Country.
But number 3 has changed.
Yep.
And I completely forget what number 3 is now because we listened to it an hour ago.
Danny Goki.
Okay, it was Danny Goki. Haven't seen it yet.
And I still haven't seen it yet.
Well, we did see it.
Well, no, I've seen it, but I still didn't see it yet. I still haven't seen yet why it's number 3. It's not a phenomenal song. I'm sorry, Danny. Creative video. You did give us a little twist when you threw in the girl as the prodigal daughter, and rather than it being a guy being the prodigal son.
I mean, I always appreciate a good prodigal story.
Right.
Like that's
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I get that completely. But it could have been more intense. I don't know. You could have made it a little more rocky. The beginning of the video really threw me off. I'm sorry. But I really thought it was going to be something deep and moving. And no, it was another vague struggle. And man, I'm just ready for something to change, man.
Well, I feel like what's kind of happened, particularly with Christian music, is we've been doing the vague struggle thing. It's been 10 years plus. That's been like the go-to for a number 1 hit. Like even the number 2, the 2 number 1s, right? The You Say and God Only Knows. That's still vague struggles, right?
Right. I mean, like, according to the music video, the little girl grew up watching her dad work on his truck and split wood. Next thing you know, she's sitting on the swing looking mad at him. Next thing you know, she's not there no more. Next thing you know, she's getting attacked in an alley. And then next thing you know, she's back home. Like, what happened? It doesn't, like, show. There's no, like, yeah, maybe if the music video showed a little bit about, like, what happened between her dad and her, that would make more sense to the song. That would be a little more creative. I'd be able to give it a little more prop. But it's just, it doesn't explain anything. It's like reading a book that says, once upon a time there was a girl and her dad, and he worked on his truck and split wood. One day, her dad found her on a swing. She looked mad. Next day, she wasn't home. Then it goes to the girl's story. She was wandering in the city, got attacked in an alley, ran, sat by a fence. Some random dude gives her jacket, and then she goes back home and the daddy hugs her. That's the whole story. What happened? You know?
And I mean, and beyond, even if I was just listening to this song, I wouldn't even get that much.
Right.
The song would just leave me. If we're like trying so hard to reach as many general people as possible with the vagueness, that I feel like the lyrics are just shallow.
Right.
They're like there's nothing there for me to grasp.
There's no depth. There's no if he's trying to move somebody in their heart, like, good luck, man. I'm sorry, but, like, really, there's nothing to really penetrate your spirit with. Or, anything whatsoever. It just doesn't move me. If I wouldn't have seen the music video, I wouldn't have had any sort of feeling toward it. But even watching the video, I didn't still have any. I kind of laughed a little bit. I'm sorry, but there's nothing to eat. There's nothing to digest about this song. It's like drinking milk and nothing happens. Where's the cookies at?
It's like it's just, it feels like it's the equivalent of, here's one of those little, not even quart, like a pint, was that what that you got, like when you was in elementary school, those little box
little,
chocolate milks?
Yeah.
And it's just like, here's some chocolate milk for you. Okay, that was good. It tasted decent. It was sweet.
But I wouldn't even say that. It was more
But it wasn't filling at all.
Right, it was like butterscotch.
But I'm still craving something,
Right.
It leaves me wanting.
Right, and it's like, but it just, I don't know what to say about it. It's just, it's not deep, and I'm really wanting something that I can chew on,
And even like, even if you have to explain, like, I'm okay even if the song doesn't make sense until someone explains it. Then at least there's something to chew on. So, let me give an example. Let's back up to 1996. DC Talks, bless you.
Allergies.
We're going to go ahead and back up to 1996, DC Talks, Between Me and You. Great song. Now, this song actually fits very well into the vague struggle, right? Just between me and you, I've got something to say, gotta get it straight before the sun goes down. What does that even mean? And then, it goes on to talk about how grace and forgiveness are needed between people. And I'm like, okay, not a bad song in and of itself. And it's even the vague struggle, right?
Right.
And then Toby Mac goes on to say, well, actually, the song, I wrote this about Michael and Kevin, because we've been on the road together since '89, nonstop. We've lived on the road together, and there are days I don't necessarily get along with them, and we let stuff build up between us, and the stuff between us, me and my bandmates. Sometimes we just got to get that off our chest and forgive each other.
Right.
I'm like, okay, so we take an already vague struggle that's pretty universal. It has a decent bridge and hook. We're not even talking about the music, just lyrics that pull me in a little bit. And then I hear the story behind it, the music video, if you will, right?
Right.
And then I'm like, okay, I'm really hooked. I buy this song now.
Right. But when it's
but then when you get like this Danny Goki song, I get none of that.
It just
like
the lyrics. I didn't even get how the song was part of the video. It didn't correlate in a very efficient way.
Like the vague.
It was like, we have to make. It's like, Danny, you don't have very many music videos out there. What is this song basically about? And we'll just throw some people in there and see if they'll do something. But then, like I don't get it, because generally when you're telling a story, it's about, like, it's not, you aren't technically involved. Maybe it's a personal story, that's why he was in the music video, but, like, in a certain sense, like, when most music videos are made, the band, they're playing in the area of, like, in one of the scenes of the story, but they're never physically seen in the story itself.
That depends on the music video.
I mean, it does, but, like, in a general context, the musician, singer, blah, 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 is not seen as a character in the story. Yes, maybe you can see them playing their instruments right here while a significant scene is happening, but that doesn't mean that that's, like, part of the story, like, oh, there was a band playing behind them while they got back together,
Well, beyond that, it's... So, This the if you just listen to this song, the main theme I got was it will get better, right? Hence the what is the title of the song again? Darn it! I cannot keep this thing.
That's how much it.
Haven't seen it yet, right? So you haven't seen how good it's going to get. You haven't seen the whole entire picture yet, right?
Right, but I would still,
even then I didn't get that.
Where does the prodigal? And sorry for the indirectness, but prodigal son come in? Like, where does that story really come into? Like, I would view this story more as a this would be a good video for it. Okay, you've got Elijah and Elisha surrounded by the army of what's his name, King Ahab.
Okay, yeah.
Right, and then it's saying you haven't seen it yet, and then Elisha's eyes are open to the angels around the army.
It's actually Elisha's manservant, but
Elisha's man. Oh, okay, yeah, different story.
But you get the idea.
But yeah, that's the general idea. I could see that, and that would be cool music video. Like, make that the music video to this, not some girl walking around.
Well, make that your verses.
Right, make that your verses. Like,
let it be like, I'm surrounded by an army. I'm getting ready to die. You haven't seen it yet. Right?
Yeah, it's like God versus Elisha, or the, it's Elisha versus the manservant, and they're like having this discussion, and then, it's like, okay, open his eyes, God. And then, you actually see it. Like, at the end of the video, you finally see the angels around the army that's around the prophet and his servant.
Yeah, by the way, if anyone from Fair Trade Records would like to contact us about writing any of these wonderful lyrics for them, we are totally available.
Yeah, we write. We have about 200 in the works,
I don't know. I obviously...
Hey, if they want us to script music videos, let's do it, man. Because we have brilliant ideas. We have just not been able to, reach our full potential because we don't have the right contacts. But I know a guy that knows a guy that knows a guy that could get us on Focus on the Family. Mm. Yeah.
I don't know. Honestly, obviously Danny Goki's doing something right. I believe he was on American Idol,
he won American Idol.
Did he even win it, or did he?
No,
he
won
come in 5th place?
Him and Jordan, what's his face? Jordan Smith.
Sparks.
Smith. Jordan Smith.
Okay.
He did the you have been faithful, or you have been da da da, oh da 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 da, morning by morning.
I got nothing, buddy.
I see. I don't know.
Great is your faithfulness.
Great is your faithfulness. There it is.
Okay. I don't know.
But he won, and literally ever since he got on Christian radio, it's like these guys know how to win over an audience so that they can get on Christian radio and not even use their potential.
Mm-hmm.
Like Colton Dixon, what happened to him? Know?
He wasn't even on my whatever happened to list.
I know.
I feel like he maybe in the future, I don't know. I don't know, man. For all I know, maybe Danny Goki isn't a sincerely creative, amazing person who can write a killer song.
Well,
I just haven't heard it.
Honestly, I'm not saying this to be rude. I'm not saying this to be insensitive, but I feel like he's one of those artists that his story just touches people. His wife passed away and blah, blah, blah.
Wasn't that Jeremy Camp's story?
It's both their stories.
Okay.
Not that doesn't mean anything.
That is sad in all reality.
It is sad. It is meaningful. It's good job. I'm glad you, he's you are my hope, da-da-da, something. Even when I can't see it, you stand in front of me, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that was a good song. His very first hits, I forget what it's called, was a very good song. Mm-hmm. It was a meaningful, it was personal. It talked about his it wasn't a vague struggle. It explained his struggle. But what's going on now? It's like, what happened to that? Like, is there nothing else you can write that's deep?
Well, Well, most artists write from what they know, right? That's the common thing says you write what you know. And what ends up happening, and you can actually kind of see this pattern in rock stars particularly. Their first album or two tends, now this isn't like the universal rule, tends to be, here's me growing up, here's me toughing it out, here's me trying to push through, right?
Johnny used to work at the docks.
And then they get to album number 10, and they've been doing this so long, what do they sing about? I'm partying, I'm enjoying life, I can't stop the hustle. You know, like, they run out of, because they have nothing else to sing. They're singing about their life, and their life has just become this nothingness.
Same old.
And I don't know, maybe that's what's happened to him. And there are some artists who can overcome that, don't get me wrong. If you want to take an example, sadly enough, he fell off the grid when he did it, but Brandon Heath, he, after, 3 very big albums, he said, you know what, I'm going to go back to my roots. And he wrote an album that was like an ode to the mountains of Kentucky and bluegrass and still like his pop style.
Right.
And it was just, an ode to his history. And it was very personal and it was very good, but it just didn't grab.
Right.
And he just kind of fell off the grid. So, yeah, there we go. That's, we didn't even talk about the music. I can't remember the music.
Yeah.
It was so nondescript. I don't want to be rude to anyone who played on this. Congratulations.
Who are you apologizing to? Is probably a computer.
That's why I feel like a computer wrote this song. Like, someone said, well, let's go ahead and insert drum track 2B and add some strings on top of this and go ahead and overdub his voice a few times. Okay, we have a song.
Yeah. Essentially.
That's what I feel like happened. I don't feel like someone sat down with a piano or a guitar or, a friggin' bagpipe. I don't care. Sat down with a real instrument and said, I'm going to figure out how these chords go together.
Flipping bass. Sit down with the drum set. Write a song.
Like, sit down and be like, how is this progression going to work? How is the song going to flow?
Right. Instead of it just like being like, oh, don't worry, we have it sunk up to your vocals so that it will play. So it'll never sound like you messed up. And it most certainly will never sound like the computer messed up.
Solomon, we've been ranting for almost 40 minutes now.
Hey, it's okay. It's okay.
This is therapy.
This is therapeutical.
So let's go ahead. Let's talk about stuff we do like. We're going to go ahead and change around.
Like the Muppets. We're like the
Statler and Waldorf.
Yeah. Let's talk about what we do like. We don't like anything.
It was awful. It was horrible. It was short. It was great. I love friggin' Statler and Waldorf.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Okay, no, we're going to go ahead and change around the whatever happened to them topic for tonight. And it's sort of a random topic, but not exactly. What's some shout-outs to some stuff you do like? What's some music we do like? I don't care if it's old music, new music, a forgotten classic, a undeserved pop gem, or a pop song that everyone thinks is overhyped that we really like. So I'm going to go ahead and just throw my hat in the ring. I don't know, it was a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago. Starflyer 59 released a new album, Young in My Head. I friggin' love this album.
Yeah.
Most people, if they only listen to Caleb, are going, what the heck is a Starflyer 59?
What the heck is a starflyer, and why is it 59 years old?
Pretty much. So Starflyer 59 was one of Tooth and Nail's very first bands. And they started out as a shoegazer band.
A shoegazer band.
Shoegazer's a really old genre where the whole entire thing was a wall of guitars. It was basically saying, how many ways can I make these knobs make weird sounds? And how many times can I overdub my guitar to make it sound just weird, right?
Right.
They started out, and really, Starflyer 59, I call it a band. It's mainly one guy, Jason Martin.
Mm-hmm.
He is a friggin' genius. And so he's been doing this for over 25 years. And he has released a great many albums. He's not exactly pop material. I mean, if you hear his voice, it's not, Mark Martel, he is not.
Yeah.
He has his own style. It's very subdued. But, oh man, he makes some good music. And this last album he made is... So he already released one album 10 years ago, over 10 years ago, way over 10, like probably 15 years ago now, called Old, which was all about him getting old. This album is really about him getting old, because he's hitting his 50s now,
Yeah.
And it's the best album comparison I can give.
Oh, that's why he sounded like really old in the... Okay.
Like, he's probably in his 40s, hitting 50.
Well, he sounds old in the... He's like got the Johnny Cash thing going.
Yeah, and the whole entire album kind of has like a country... Okay, so it's alternative rock. It's very 80s alternative rock, but it does kind of have like a country western vibe.
Yeah. A
kind of latter-day Johnny Cash thing, you're right.
Right.
And it's...
What have I become?
And if I was to compare it to an album, Automatic for the People by R.E.M., considered one of their best albums about getting old. And maybe it's just because I feel like I'm getting old, but I related to Young in My Head so much.
Yeah.
Just him talking about, maybe it's time for me to move on. Maybe it's time to let my son play his music. And then talking about, maybe it's time I make peace with my past, make peace with my enemies. Maybe it's, it's just the whole entire song is just coming to grips with who you are as a person. That's what the whole entire album's about. And, coming to grips with, he's never been huge in the music industry, and even his small fan base is nothing when you compare it to, I don't know, Casting Crowns, for instance, right? But he's still just being true to himself. And, I really haven't told you anything about this album other than how it makes me feel. But that's what you was talking about, right? Art that makes you feel something.
Yeah, art that makes you feel something.
And this album, I cannot recommend it enough. I love it. I want to buy the vinyl record of it as soon as I get a chance. And for anyone who is maybe getting ready to turn 30, getting ready to turn 40, etc., and is freaking out about it, this is the album for you.
You are about to turn 30.
I'm getting there, man. And
I'm about to turn 20. It's not flipping me out, but I'm kind of freaking out a little bit because the other day I realized that I've been playing guitar for 11 years.
Yeah.
And I've been playing piano for 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of cried a little bit when I realized that, wow, I can actually say I've been doing something over 10 years. That's freaking me out.
You can say you've been doing it over half your life.
Exactly. I've been doing it over half my life. Oh my god. Oh my god, now I'm freaking out.
So you should go listen to Young in My Head by Starflyer 59.
Yeah, I have to do that tonight.
It's a great album.
I'm going to put that on my sleepy playlist.
Please hold while Solomon writes this down on his sleep playlist. Do you have Apple Music currently, or?
No.
Oh.
I have YouTube.
That's fair. That's where I listened to the whole entire album, but I loved it.
Is it Starflyer 2 words?
No, it's one word. Starflyer 59. They, yeah. So.
Got it.
So. Alright, Solomon, what's something you recommend from the past, from the future, from the present?
Oh, man. I have to do this. I have to do this.
Okay.
Keith Green, man. Get with the Keith Green.
Alright, which album
Ministry Is it Ministry Years?
The Ministry Years?
The Ministry Years, both volumes.
Okay, so...
Fantastic volumes, man.
So
I mean, technically records, but he calls them volumes.
Well, the Ministry Years, for those that don't know... so for those that are like, who the heck is Keith Green? Who is Keith Green?
He was, okay, for the longest time in the 70s, before we even had...
Well, he only had a 4-year career.
Right. Well, exactly. Well, before we had Christian record labels that were big enough to be noticed, we had Keith Green, who did not grow up Christian. Grew up in the time of in the world where everyone was like, peace, love, and rock and roll, and hippie everything, and let's go eat some mushrooms and get totally stoned. And he grew up in that spot. He found that he didn't like it as much as he thought he did. When he freaked out one night, him and his buddy are on a trip, a trip-out trip, and they go up in the hills over in it's Oregon County, California.
Orange County.
I was right. And, home of OC Supertones.
Yeah.
But anyway, they go up in the hills of Orange County, California, and they're on this big old trip. I don't know what it was exactly, but Keith Green has this vision while he is blown out of his mind that there are aliens in a spaceship coming for him, and he's flipping out. And his friend, when they finally got over it, his friend's like, dude, what were you flipping out over? You were screaming, they're coming for you. Anyway, long story short, Keith Green decides, there's got to be something more out there than drugs, because, this thing's got me tripping super hard, and I don't want this for my life. So he starts searching for religion, starts searching for a connection to a higher power, starts reading the Bible, and he decides, I believe this, I believe that God created heaven and earth. I believe that Jesus came, was crucified, died, rose again, so that we could all be saved. I'm gonna stick by that, and I want to share that with everyone. So he starts writing music, and the thing about his music is that it's not necessarily just these little worship songs. These are some fantastic songs. I highly recommend listening to Separation of the Goats and Sheep by him, because it's not even a song. It's literally a musical narrative by him, just explaining a story about when God comes back. It's in Matthew. The story's from Matthew. When God comes back and he's separating the sheep from the goats. So I highly recommend listening to that song specifically. But anyway, he writes these songs, and each of them deal with something. He tells a story about his life and why this song means something to him and what this song is actually about. Hence, creativity. Very, very admired. Love it. Not all of his songs were perfect, but all of his songs were honest. All of his songs were 100% connectable with anybody in his audience.
And if I may make a shout out to some girl power, his wife, Melody Green, co-wrote a lot of his songs.
Yes. Yeah, we cannot let that go unnoticed.
Yeah.
She wrote, in fact, she wrote a lot of his songs. There were songs that just she wrote, but most of the songs they wrote together. Essentially, later on down, in his career, he's on a plane, going to a tour, and he passes away when the plane crashes. Hence, I believe that was what he saw when he was on that trip. I believe he saw, oh man, something's going to happen. I really need to find what my life is actually meant for. And that I'm not saying that is what happened. I'm not saying that, it was intended for him to die in a plane crash. But I just like to see it that way. I like to think that maybe it was God who kind of showed him, hey, I would really like for you to, connect to me, because this is what's going to happen. You're gonna lose your life one day, and you're not gonna know the difference, between life and death, because you're gonna be dead for eternity.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna burn in hell that wasn't intended for you. But I would highly recommend that you guys listen to. Just look up Keith Green. He's on Spotify. He's on everything. Look him up. Listen to all his songs. There's not a single song that's not that good. They're all fantastic. Also, read his life biography. It's a good book.
Yeah.
It's his biography, written by Melody Green.
Yeah.
Is it called Keith Green? What's it called? Ministry Years?
No. It's called Your Love Broke Through.
Your Love Broke Through. Right.
And the Ministry Year albums are actually... So he only had a 4-year discography.
Right.
He released 4 albums, and then there was actually... He recorded enough material. He only ever had one producer, Bill Maxwell. And he recorded enough material with Bill Maxwell that they was able to release 3 posthumous albums.
Yeah. Which means they were able to release these albums after he passed away.
Yeah. So 7 albums in total. And so since he had such a brief career... They actually released all the albums on 4 discs. Hence, the Ministry Years, Volume 1 and Volume 2. And
right.
Yes. All right, there you go.
Fantastic. I love him, man. Like, I would honestly say, in my personal journey as a musician, songwriter, he is one of my top... Okay, he is pretty much my top influence when it comes to music. But, Christian... music, the CCM influence. I mean, I have other secular influences that I look kind of at them, but let's focus on Keith Green. let's keep it with him, because that's where it's at. That's what I think that a lot of that's what I think that Christian music needs to be like. Seeing that he essentially was the father of CCM for a very long time.
Yeah, Larry Norman may have invented Christian rock, but Keith
right.
Green invented contemporary Christian radio.
Right. And, that's not even bad. It's beautiful. Him, Rich Mullins.
I mean, they were 20 years apart.
They were 20 years apart, but I feel like Rich Mullins kept the thing going.
Oh, yeah.
Rich Mullins and Keith Green, if you had a concert with both of them together, one or the other. I mean, obviously it'd be Rich Mullins opening for Keith Green.
Yeah.
But, I feel like that would work because they both carried the dream. They carried the vision of our songs need to be stories, need to tell the audience something. We need to be able to connect on an emotional level.
And beyond that, going back to history should not be forgotten. Why is it, and we complained about this a couple weeks ago, I mean, I don't want to be on here just complaining, but why is it, Bob Dylan still gets played on the radio, Johnny Cash still gets played on pop radio.
Right.
Why do we not still hear Keith Green played on the radio? Why do we still not hear... Okay, every once in a while you'll hear Awesome God by Rich Mullins, but that's every once in a great blue moon. You don't even really hear that
anymore. But anymore,
right?
if we hear Awesome God, it's Hillsong version.
Yeah.
And it's guys, you do realize he wrote verses.
Yeah.
It's not just a chorus, because the chorus in itself is pretty vague. I mean, yes, it's a ode to God for being awesome. Wow. But the verses are the story.
The verses are wow.
Yeah, God wasn't joking when he kicked them out of Eden. It's actually pretty legit. Well, we can't worship to that verse. It's kind of weird, man. But no, you can, because the chorus tells the chorus is the what's the word the chorus is the answer to the problem in the verse.
That's kind of an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, he wasn't joking when he kicked him out of Eden, but it was for his mercy that he shed his blood, blah, blah, blah. But then, you better be believing our God is an awesome God, because, Our God is an awesome God. He reigns from heaven above with wisdom, power, and love. Our God is an awesome God. Like, look at songs in a more storytelling way. Look at songs as a math problem. That was actually something I was told when I was getting songwriting lessons. Not like, oh, you have to write it like this. I was trying to figure out, hey, I don't really know how to do this. This isn't my strong suit. I'd like to talk to somebody who has written songs. And he said, look at it as a math formula. He said, but don't look at it as a simple equation, 2 + 2 =. He said, you got to look at it as an algebraic problem. Like x to the power of 2 plus y to the power of 3 times, x plus y equals -5, but why? You got to figure it out. It's a story. But then there's a simple solution. Mm-hmm. Be creative. Work those juices in your brain parts. in your thinking parts.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of worship music, while we're talking about positive things we do like...
Right.
Let's go ahead and give our top 5 worship songs. And this is going to be a little bit weird how we're closing it out.
Right.
Admittedly, but this is just keep the good vibes going.
And we'll try to keep it under 4 minutes here.
All right, so what's our top 5 worship songs? We'll each go back and forth with our number 1, number 2, and just kind of see what happens. And I do want to preface this, for me at least, in the fact that my worship songs... they do change a lot. I'm trying to go for, throughout my entire lifetime, these are the songs that have touched me in a worship setting on the deepest level.
Yeah.
But there is, don't get me wrong, there's still 100 other songs that I can worship to that will, have me jumping, running, crying, whatever. There are other songs out there. These are just the ones that pop to the top of my head. All right, Solomon, so what's your number 1 worship song? And I'm not necessarily going in any particular order. I just wrote down 5, and that's what I had.
Yeah, I'd say. But I'll just give you the first one I have on the list, which is Open Sky by David Crowder Band.
Okay, and why do you like this song?
I like it because it's pretty, it opens with, shoot.
Turn your eyes. Your eyes to heaven and sing... joyful noise. Oh wait, no, that's all of this for a king.
Yeah,
sorry,
well,
I'm thinking
it starts with praise him under open skies, everything breathing, praising God, in the company of all who love the King. I will dance, I will sing. It could be heavenly. I like that. It's simple. It doesn't sound like a lot of your worship songs.
But it's very poetic.
Then it goes into wherever you are, wherever you've been, he's been there. Mm-hmm. So let his people sing. I like it. It's so wonderful to be here now. Like even though we're on earth, we're still in his presence, and it's wonderful to be here. Even though, it's really not that wonderful to be on earth, because earth's really not that great when it fails in comparison to heaven.
Yeah. My top of my list is another David Crowder Band song. I told you they're my favorite band ever, but How He Loves, which is technically a John Mark McMillan song. Right. John Mark McMillan did write this, but
his version's not as it's not the same as theirs. They did make it a little more worship.
Yeah, they changed the one verse, right?
Right. Well, they changed the one word.
If it wasn't for that wet, sloppy kiss, John Mark McMillan would have been on top.
Yeah, John Mark McMillan would have made it on top if it wasn't for that wet, sloppy kiss.
But I love this song so much. It's poetic. The poetry is not appreciated like it should be appreciated, in my opinion.
For sure. It's definitely not.
I think it's okay for things to not necessarily have a clear cut of, I'm demanding you worship to this.
Right.
Let the poetry invoke worship in you. If you read through the book of Job, if you read through Psalms, Songs of Solomon,
right.
Those are all poetry that aren't demanding you worship. They just invoke worship in you.
Right.
From the poetry. And that's this song to me.
All right. Right. All right. Number 2 on my list would be Reckless Love by Corey Asbury, which is, yes, it is a very modern worship song.
And I'm kind of glad you like it.
And it's good. I mean, I'm impressed myself that I like this. It's something you hear on the radio. The thing I like about it is that it's not like, so simple. It actually makes sense. Like, the verses may seem simple, but really in a bigger, broad spectrum, it's deep. It says, before I spoke a word, you were singing over me.
Mm-hmm.
Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me.
Mm-hmm.
It says, when I was your foe, still your love fought for me. And then it goes on to says, when I felt no worth, you paid it all for me. And then it goes into, oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God that chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, and I don't deserve it. Still, you give yourself away. And then the big part, this is the real thing I like about it, is the bridge. It says, there's no shadow you won't light up, no mountain you won't climb up coming after me, no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down coming after me. And I like it because it is legit. It's legitimate. Yeah, it might be a vague struggle, but it's the scripture. It is scripture. It says, you fight till I'm found and leave the 99. Like, that's all that matters. That's really what kicks it for me, is because he gets the idea. Like, let's sing this song of worship from the scripture. Let's not just pull in these vague words and vague ideas and then make it what I want it to, so that I can connect to an audience instead of an individual person. Because with the statement, leaves the 99, he makes it individual.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that about it. Congratulations, Corey Asbury, for being creative in the 21st century.
And making it on the radio specifically.
Right, and making it on the radio.
I'm next gonna go. I'm just kind of going down my favorite artist list here. It kind of happens. Speechless by Stephen Curtis Chapman. This is back from '99. So first off, the album Speechless. If I can just give props to it for a second. This was, I don't know if you remember, well, you were very young. You was just born, actually, in the late 90s. Or no, stick with me. In the late 90s, there was this trend of adult alternative rock. Think Goo Goo Dolls.
Oh.
That kind of acousticy...
Then I'd give up forever to touch
like,
you.
It was very radio friendly, but you could still have like a slight rock edge to it, right?
Yeah, like the acoustic and mandolin in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
So Stephen Curtis Chapman's whole entire Speechless album is that.
Right.
But in a Christian context, which
right.
I love, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
2, this song is... it's talking about our response to God. I feel like worship music has kind of fallen into this trap of talking about all the things God can give us without us talking about how we should respond to what God has given us.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because it's, and this is talked about off and on, but, God is not our Santa Claus. God is a father that knows best for us, and we should be more than grateful for that. And the Speechless just kind of encapsulates that idea of, you have given me so much, and what do I possibly have
right.
that can be in a response to that? Anything in a response I have to the goodness of God is just nothing. And then if I may brag on the music for a minute, if you actually listen to the song actually fades out to, by the end of it, he literally just stops singing, and you just hear the strings playing the melody to the song Speechless. Mm-hmm. So literally by the end of the song, he is speechless
right.
in the presence of God.
Right.
And I just, this song is, it deserves to be played on Sunday morning everywhere, and it never was. I love that song.
Right. All right. My third one, and this one, it's kind of hard to explain. This is one that you'll have to listen to really understand where I'm coming from. If you haven't heard this song, totally, 100% recommend that you listen to this. All the Poor and Powerless, the digital age version. Because the reason, and like I said, I can't get too deep into this because it's kind of hard. You could go forever about it. But essentially...
And who was it originally by?
It's originally by sons and daughters. I don't remember what their names are. Something. But anyway...
But so Digital Age, who is David Crowder Band's kind of like...
Right, yeah, it's David Crowder Band's like offspring.
If you will.
Like,
they went ahead and covered it. Sorry, I just had to get that out there. So continue.
Yeah, they covered it. In fact, it's too much to try to explain. Listen to it. All the Poor and Powerless, the Digital Age version.
You're right. That is a great song.
It's
that
a
almost made my list.
song, but it's not like you can't explain why it's good. You have to hear why it's good. You know?
Ironically enough, I feel like our songs, even though they're not the same songs, they kind of mirror each other. Because that song as well is a lot about just responding to God.
Right.
You know? It's a lot about that response.
Right.
That's funny. All right, so number 3 on mine, I'm going to go on left field here to something very few people have ever heard. Matthias Replaces Judas by Showbread.
Oh! Aren't they rock and roll? No.
It's not this song, actually. This song is a worship song.
This is the bread and butter of worship, essentially. Like, this is, not kosher pickle, but this is the bread and butter pickle. Sandwich pickles, those things are disgusting, but it's the real deal. Get it?
This song, though, so Showbread is this little, I don't even know how to classify their music genre band. That used to be on Tooth and Nail. They're dead now. I'm not literally dead, but the
I was
band
about
is
to say,
dead.
I was like, they are?
No, the band is disbanded.
When did they die? Why did I know?
This song encapsulates, though, just everything great I love about them. It's odd. It's a weird song. It's completely humble. It's interestingly enough, the song is mainly about how unworthy we are of God's mercy. Mm-hmm. The whole entire song is, comparing the singer comparing himself to Judas. Right. And I just, it makes me cry almost every time. And I listen to the song almost on a daily basis. So I don't necessarily cry every day, but my like somewhere in the back of my head, there's a little part of me crying every time I hear this song. Right. And the one and only Reese Roper makes an appearance on the song, giving one of his best power ballad vocals ever. And it's one of those songs, kind of like The Poor and Powerless. You have to just go and listen to it. Right. So, Matthias Replaces Judas by Showbread. Just go listen to it. You're welcome.
The next song, and I'm going to start throwing back a little bit here. The next song I'm going to throw out here is, yeah, I mean, you're going to know this one, obviously, but you're not going to expect it. Is da-da-dum, Sing Your Praise to the Lord by Rich Mullins.
Oh, really? So you decided you switched it up a little bit.
Yeah, I had to.
No, that is a great song, though. Like, it is Class A modern worship.
Right.
So, I'm sorry, I shouldn't talk about your song. Tell me about your song.
That's why I like it, because it's like, most worship, it's like, oh, how he loves us. So, like, not that that's bad. I like how he loves us, but like, really, sing your praise to the Lord. Come on, everybody. You don't know how good that it's gonna do. You sing your praise to the Lord. Like,
it has
worship.
Some
you
spirit
can worship.
Behind it.
Right. It is praise and like worship. You can worship to that song. It's corporate worship, yes, but it's one of those songs where even though you can, it's a song you sing with a group of people, it's individual because it's talking about you giving your individual praise to God in the group of people, So Rich Mullins really, he found a really good in to both a corporate and individual worship.
And I'll give you a fun fact about that song. So he originally recorded it way back before he was an actual artist.
Right.
When he was just writing songs. And Amy Grant took it. And it was actually a huge hit for Amy Grant. It was like one of her first huge hits.
Right.
And so that's what got him into the industry. They're like, hey, write more songs for Amy Grant. You're good. And then
he was like, no, I want to sing my own songs.
Well, and then he didn't end up recording that song again, like for himself,
right,
as Rich Mullins until like the late 90s.
Huh.
So only a few years before he died did he finally record that for himself. And when he released it under his name, it became even bigger than Amy Grant's version.
Ouch.
So that's just there you go. That's a little fun fact.
Right.
All right. Oh man, where are we at? We're at number 4. Okay. Yep. I'm gonna go back in history a little bit. We're going to go, I Need Thee Every Hour, a hymn. I like me some hymns.
Right.
So this hymn was written by Annie S. Hawks and Robert Lowry. And if I'm saying those names like I'm reading them, it's because I am. I don't actually know who wrote this off the top of my head. The reason why is the version I like. Because the thing with hymns is good luck ever finding a... you're not going to find an original recording of a hymn because they were written during the 1700s, the 1800s. You're very rarely you're going to find an original recording for a hymn.
Right.
So, my favorite version of this song is Jars of Clay. I love the Jars. One of my favorite bands, and they do this hymn, this very good classic hymn, more than justice.
Right.
And I feel like hymns shouldn't be forgotten. There was this weird time during the early 2000s when every Christian artist had a hymns album. Thankfully, that's died a little bit.
Thank you, God.
But there is something to be said for a hymn if done properly.
If done properly, exactly.
What the problem I had with all those hymns albums is they felt less like I'm paying honor to this awesome songwriting and
right.
I'm cashing in on a
public domain song
that I didn't have to write.
Yeah, because I don't have anything. I've lost, like, we're due to have another album out. Why don't we just, save us a lot of time and stress and just throw in Amazing Grace? And
yeah. So,
right.
I love Jars of Clay's version.
Yep. Fantastic.
Right, number 4 for you.
5.
Oh, 5.
I've already done 4.
Did you do?
I started it.
Okay, you started it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 5. And going back to the very beginning, Keith Green, Make My Life a Prayer.
Okay.
I love this song for the sheer fact that he is descriptive in what he means. Make my life a prayer to you. I want to be what you want me to. No empty words, no white lies, no token prayers, and no compromise. And I want to shine the light you gave through your Son you sent to save us from ourselves and our despair. It comforts me to know you're really there. And
that has a lot on it.
It
Isn't
really
that one
does.
Verse?
That one verse. And then, it goes on to say in the chorus, I want to thank you now for being faithful to me. It's so hard to see when my eyes are on me. But I guess I have to trust and believe what you say. You said you're coming again, coming to take me away. And I think that that's the real part that, gets me, is because, and as I was talking about earlier, is the vision he had when he was tripping. And he says it here, and then eventually, something does happen to him. That's why I say I feel like that. That part of this song gets me, because I feel like he really did have some sort of revelation of what was coming for him. And what, even if it wasn't some space shuttle or some airplane, he knew that something was going to get him in the end. And he needed a relationship with God, hence this song, Make My Life a Prayer. I really like this song. It just, I don't know. This is one of those songs that when I play it and sing it or listen to it, I can't help but cry about it.
Yeah.
It's a good song. I pray to the song. I listen to the song when praying, and it helps. It really does. It puts you in not just that praise and worshipful mood, but also that prayerful mood, which in that state of prayer, you really are praising God, because when you humble yourself enough to ask God to move through your situation, that is true praise.
Mm-hmm.
What praise and worship, you're praising and worshiping God by lowering yourself to a level where He is ultimate authority. That's true praise and worship. Not necessarily being up and lifting your hands and, going berserk. That's not in a complete sense. Yeah, it's part of it, but that's not in an essential sense. Praise and worship, like I like to call it. That is what did I call it a couple weeks ago?
Glory.
That's glorying in the power of God. When sometimes we mistake glorying in the power of God with worship and praise, we need to get down on our knees a little more when we're praising and worshiping. Kneel, pray, cry. That's what true praise and worship is.
Yeah, humility.
Humility, being humble. Right.
Yeah, I mean, not to get overly preachy, but at the end of the day, God wants everything, and people don't know how to take that statement because we have been raised in a culture that says it's all about me, right?
Yeah, it's all about me now.
What I need, what I want.
What need. Yeah.
And it's really about humbling yourself, and God is supposed to be your everything, and that does not jive well with people. It grinds against our human nature. We don't want to submit to someone else.
Right.
So yeah,
but I mean, seriously, this song, by the end of it, says, "I want to die and let you give your life to me that I might live, to share the love you gave to me, the love that set me free." Pretty much saying that this is what you've done for me, but let me die like you did, so that you can give me life through your Spirit, so that I can share that with others. And then the praise becomes corporate. It becomes a corporate thing so that everybody can be in that same state.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. That's my number 5.
There you go. My number 5, at least the last one I wrote down, is I'm going back to my youth group days. This one is more nostalgia than... So, it's still a good praise and worship song, but it also has to do with a lot with nostalgia. My Glorious by Delirious.
Oh, yes.
I grew up hearing this song in youth group all the time.
God is greater than... Yeah, that's a good song.
And I feel like it just it meets that perfect intersection of it's a worship song that rocks.
See, I thought Michael W. Smith covered it.
No, Chris Tomlin did. Maybe Smitty did, but not that I remember. I've never heard.
Here, I'll just look it up and see.
But this song is the perfect. When I hear it, it takes me back to when I was 16. So that's one part of it. But it's more than just nostalgia. This song is really forward-looking, and praise and worship doesn't have to be one thing. What people don't realize about Delirious is they really created praise and worship as we know it, right?
Right.
But the flip side of that we don't think about is they were changing praise and worship from what we did. It used to be praise and worship was only hymns. If it wasn't hymns or hymn-like sounding, it wasn't praise and worship.
Right.
And this song particularly, but a lot of Delirious was saying, look, music is an art form.
Right.
We can use art to praise God. Here's the different ways we can do that.
Right.
Let's be creative with this. And this song just exemplifies that very well, I feel like.
Right. I like this song too. I remember hearing this as a kid. It was a pretty popular worship song.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys, that's it for tonight. We have talked for far too long, but thank you all you lovely listeners. Once again, my name is Samuel.
And I'm Solly.
Keep being that glimpse of eternity.